everybody, and welcome to today's watch party for, well, it's the last of our Summer of Popcorn 2 movies. Don't worry, we're still going to be carrying on, but we're doing Terminator 2 Judgment Day, one of the greatest movies ever made. As always, I'm Andrew. I'm back off holiday. Hello. And I'm joined by my co-host, Dom. Welcome, Dom.
Hello, everybody. And hello
we've
back,
got...
Andrew.
And we've got our special guest today, Rob Hill. Welcome, Rob.
Hello there.
And you know the big boss man, Robin, who's joined us as well.
I'm only joining for like the first 5 minutes because I want to sort of step out the way and let you three do your thing. By the way, Andrew, I had a fantastic time with Dom. Dom, you did a brilliant job when Andrew was away in Disneyland, literally. And but Andrew, it's brilliant to have you back.
Thank you.
Hopefully everything will work. Hopefully everything will work now. Yeah. And so don't go away soon. So I want to say to everyone how excited I am to have Rob Hill join this watch party. You might not be familiar with Rob's work. He's a very talented guy. I want to highly recommend this book to you, which is The Bad Movie Bible by Rob Hill. It's fantastic. And Rob also has an incredible YouTube channel, which is really slept on considering the quality of the content. The YouTube channel, Andrew will try and put it up or link it somewhere in the Discord, but it's called The Bad Movie Bible YouTube channel. It's some of the best film related content I've ever seen, especially around like good bad movies. And Rob came to my attention through our good friend Ollie Harper from Ollie Harper's Retrospectives, and Ollie was tweeting, "This guy's amazing. Have you seen his work?" So I went on and had a look at his channel, and I basically binge watched it. And the material on it is world class. Timing, editing, it's so funny, but so much love for these kind of broken but beautiful, good bad movies. So welcome, Rob. And also what I wanted to say is Rob and I are collaborating on a project at the moment, which is looking at, the best of good, bad movies. And I think that's probably all I can say on that. But it's brilliant to have you here with us. And if you, after this movie, I highly recommend one of Rob's videos that's pertinent to the title, Terminator 2. So Rob's done a 46-minute video on the best worst Terminator knockoffs, which will be 46 minutes of your life, which you will really enjoy. It had me laughing out loud. But my wife was like, "What are you watching?" And I'm like, "This guy's a genius." So highly recommend that. And the only other thing I wanted to say is we are 5 days in, literally, to a crowdfunding campaign for a new project called Aliens Expanded. It's a brand new format. It's never been done before this way. We want it to be the future of film documentaries, and it's a real challenge because it's something new. We're bringing kind of new form of entertainment to hardcore fans of James Cameron's Aliens. The first week of crowdfunding has been absolutely outstanding. We're all just absolutely like amazed at how well it's doing. If you go to the website aliens-expanded.com, check out the trailer, and you'll get a better idea of what we're doing. But we're just saying thank you so much. And if you're an Aliens fan, if it's a movie that's really mattered to you, then check out what we're planning to do, and it's hugely exciting. And then I want to leave you on this little anecdote, if that's okay. So I went to see Terminator 2 at my local Odeon in Tunbridge Wells. I was 13 years old, and it was the first 15 rated movie I'd ever gone to the cinema in. I remember getting my ticket, sitting down about to watch it, and the opening titles come up, and then a flame appeared and burnt through the film. And the actual film reel itself was damaged, and we all got sent out of the cinema and given new tickets and said, "We've got to come back later," which I did. And it was just one of those, sitting down and watching this film in the cinema, especially at the age of 13, it's just one of those memories that's imprinted, because it is a special movie. And there's a big debate because, I think Aliens is the greatest sequel of all time, but T2 is like a strong contender for that title. But they're both done by the same man. You know, he's a kind of modern Da Vinci of filmmaking, and it's wonderful we get to sort of focus on him. So thank you all so much for being here. And Rob, please tell us about your relationship with Terminator.
Well, I think you've done just the right amount of promotion now, so I'll probably just be off if that's all right.
Well, if I can just quickly chip in just for a second. What we normally do at this point in time is we tell our audience, I'll do the roll call in a minute, but we tell everyone the sync point for today's movie. The sync point will be just as the Corolco logo has faded in and complete. So while we're getting on chatting away, we'll let you all get your Blu-rays, DVDs, VHS tapes, streaming, whatever you've got, just as the Corolco logo fades and completes. Back to you, Rob.
Okay, no pressure then. So funny enough, I've got a fun memory of the first time I saw Terminator 2 as well. I'm obviously a couple of years older than you because it was one of my first ever dates. And through some weird scenario, I can't remember how on earth it happened now, I ended up with 2 tickets to a cast and crew screening in central London on a Sunday morning at like 10 o'clock or something. And needless to say, there's not a lot of people who work in the film industry who are going to be up, awake, and in central London by 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. So the whole cinema was basically empty. It's a couple of weeks before release, and it's kind of, at the time I thought, this is pretty impressive. New girlfriend, cast and crew screening. Didn't work out. Didn't last. My love for the film has lasted much longer. Franchise in general.
Wow, it's one of those things. I've got a story about dates and movies growing up, not with this movie, but quickly to check where everyone's getting ready. So I went on a double date to see Interview with the Vampire. It was an 18 rated in the UK. I was 17. I went with my friend and 2 girls, and they were 17. They let me and the 2 girls go and watch the film. He had to wait outside.
Oh, wow. Poor guy.
Can we just talk about people we've dated?
No, we're not going to. No, that could be litigious, Robin. That's not.
We need to get James Cameron in before we start doing that, because he's got some credentials there.
I used to just sneak into films when I was younger. I'd buy tickets for age-appropriate films and then just dip into the next screen.
I love doing that game.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same effect now that I'm old enough to watch any film.
You grew up in a town with a cinema that had more than one screen?
Birmingham, yeah.
I didn't. We had one screen. It was a theatre half the time as well.
Oh, wow.
So it was. But here we go. So if everyone's getting ready, I'm just going to do the roll call and then we'll get ready. So Milton was saying it's the sync point just as the Corolco logo has completed. So when it comes in, it draws and whatever. Just it finishes drawing and says the word Corolco on the screen. So let's do a roll call while everyone just gets ready. We've got over on YouTube, Immortal Rimus joining us. Horror fan, welcome. Shattered Trousers. John Zizopolo, welcome. We have James Hellier joining us. He said he'll be back. Horror fan again. Bart Martinez. Anthony Galatis. And then Pipijin. Forgive me, I can't say your surname. Anna Nemesis saying aliens expanded backer reporting in welcome and thank you. And then over on Discord, our gang who are joining us, let's have a look. We've got Icy Matty, we've got Fraglord, we've got Sharon, we've got Phonic, we've got Lizard Man, we got Onzi, I saw Eric earlier, Edward the Black Prince is there, Jedi Wizard, and there we go. And if I see you later on, I'll say hello. So, Anak as well, and Camos as well. Right, Robin, do you want us to chat for a minute while you run off to your living room to go and get ready, or are you going to catch up with us?
I'll play catch up. I might ping you and privately, Andrew, just get a timestamp.
Okay.
But everyone's very good in the chat and on Discord. So if you lose your way or you're starting a bit later, just ask and people will give you where we are. Isn't it wonderful? We could all just get together and like nerd out about this film. It's such an amazing film. I'm really excited about watching it.
It really
Guys, have a wicked watch party. Rob, it's a real pleasure to have you join us. Dom, enjoy yourself. Andrew, enjoy yourself.
We will.
See you later, everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye, Robin.
See you later.
Now, Rob, we're going to ask you to do something as our special guest. We often ask our guests to do this. Will you provide the countdown from 5 to 1 with the word press play at the end for our audience to press play on the movie?
Goodness, if I'd had warning, I'd have thought of something clever to say instead. But 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, press play. And I even remembered to do it myself.
I know. Whenever I do the countdown, I tend to forget to press play.
I thought at about 3, I realised I'm going to have to do it myself, aren't I?
Oh, Mario! It says Mario Casar, and I know he was one of the Krolko sort of producers. But every time I see that, I don't think see his name. I don't think of T2. I think of Universal Soldier.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
There we go. So that was the first time you saw the film, Rob, was at the cinema in a press screening.
Yes, yeah, it was a cast and crew, but which is the same thing but more boring and at a less sociable time of day and without free booze.
Oh wow!
But weirdly, you mentioned Universal Soldier. The only other movie I saw like that around the same time was Double Impact, which I think it might have even been Van Damme's follow. It was around the same time as Universal Soldier. Exactly the same situation. No one else there, no one interested, no one.
And here we see the playgrounds of Birmingham of Dom's youth.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it looks like. They didn't even have to do any set dressing. You joke about it, but Birmingham is often used for post-apocalyptic like settings. An area called Digbeth was used in the Spielberg film recently, Ready Player One, and they did minimal set dressing.
I mean, there is something. The Terminator design is just really cool for sort of the robots, even though there's elements of it that they do look a bit modelish at times, but you still go with it.
Why do they build him so much like a beefcake? He doesn't need to be. Doesn't need to make me feel bad about my own lack of physique.
Have you guys done the original Terminator previously as a watch?
Many months ago, yes, we did the original Terminator. Yeah. So it is a great film. I mean, which do you... let's get this out. Let's ask the question of both the chat and in here. Which Terminator do you prefer? Because there is a hardcore who prefer the original Terminator.
It's a funny one, isn't it? I'd have to say throughout most of my life, I've preferred T2, but I wonder whether in old age, the first one might be finally starting to edge it out. I don't know. I recently rewatched both of them. I've got a 9-year-old son.
Yeah.
And I figured if there's anything a 9-year-old needs after 2 years of lockdown, it's some incredibly inappropriate sci-fi horror action. So we watched both of them. And that was the first time I'd kind of thought, actually, that first one's kind of perfect. You can't. But then the second one's perfect too. So
they are just great films. I mean, I think Rob, we're of a sort of similar age. I was born in '78, so sort of similar kind of age. Do you remember the hype for this? It was a bonkers hype.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I would say the hype that we know of modern movie hype started probably with Jurassic Park and Independence Day, but this was sort of the first time we started to get that kind of hype where I went into a bookshop and bought a big, lush, colourful, glossy making of book for this film before it came out.
Yeah.
And there was
like you
like
say,
that.
it was next level. I think Batman in '89 was the first time I really noticed, as a small child, noticed that merchandise and branding and logos could be everywhere. Yeah. But this then definitely took it to the next level.
It really did. And I remember that I only saw the original Terminator when this was coming out, because it was announced so far in advance that BBC actually aired the Terminator sort of 2 weeks before the film came out.
As a commercial for T2.
That's interesting. Was that on... Because I can't remember how old I was when I discovered this franchise, but I remember seeing Terminator on Moviedrome.
Yes, I remember.
We often have been that screening or a different.
No, I think it was on Saturday night screen, but I remember Moviedrome. We often the British amongst us here often bring up Moviedrome as the introduction to so many movies, and what a great and sadly missing show it is now. It was brilliant, and the one I always bring up was. And it's only because, again, being British, you'll appreciate this, of strange films to show on British television. Meet the Feebles on Moviedrome.
I didn't know that was on Moviedrome.
It was on Moviedrome.
My God, can you imagine tuning into that by mistake?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's very cool. Here's Darren says Michael Bain signed his copy of Terminator. That's very cool with Michael
That's awesome.
doing that. And Anthony Glasses says, this is a hard one. T2 is a dark sci-fi with horror vibes. T2 is the adventure I wanted to star as a teen. Ooh,
That's one of the reasons that they're so hard to compare, isn't it? It's the same with Alien and Aliens. They're just so fundamentally different while still being, quite similar in other ways.
I'm waiting for someone in the comments to be like, oh yeah, Terminator 3, best movie in the franchise.
Oh, well, we'll not be discussing the other films in the franchise particularly today because it's going to open us up to controversy I'm not really willing to entertain. It'll take away from the fun vibe of this.
Exactly. It's all about T2 today. It's such a phenomenally well put together movie, and it's so impressive following the Terminator so many years on as well. Like Terminator 1 was 84, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
And T2 was 91. That's such a huge gap. And it's impressive that both films can stand alone. You don't need to have seen Terminator 1 to enjoy Terminator 2. I sure didn't when I first watched Terminator 2. I don't know when I first watched it because I think it was on TV when I came out of the womb. But well, no, it was in the cinemas when I came out of the womb. But I can't remember a time of not knowing Terminator 2. It's one of those films that's just in my DNA.
Sorry to interrupt, Dom. Now, this is something, unfortunately, I think the marketing of the film, if you'd have seen the first movie and seen no marketing for Terminator 2, this scene is very different to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you are in the same mindset as the first movie.
Yeah, you would be assuming, oh, it's another Terminator sent back to kill John.
Yep, your previous knowledge betrays you and it lures you into this false narrative that, oh no, the Terminator is back.
And it runs, if memory serves, it runs all the way until Schwarzenegger steps out of the lift in the the hospital where they're
the mall, Galleria Mall.
The way that plays with your existing knowledge is quite clever, isn't it?
It is, but unfortunately, the marketing just went, no, he's a good guy this time. And welcome. We've got Stephen Patterson from Plantation, Florida, USA, and it's his 38th birthday. Happy birthday, Stephen.
Happy birthday.
Nice to have you joining us for this.
Oh, this guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys are aware, this is something I came across researching my video on the Terminator ripoffs, but there's a Canadian theatre company who have staged a production called William Shakespeare's Terminator II. Is this something you know about?
I do not know of this. I would love to
I need to know about this.
I can never judge whether it's just me or whether these things are common knowledge, but it's it is a restaging of Terminator 2 on the stage, but with every single line of dialogue changed to a line of dialogue from Shakespeare's plays.
Incredible.
So this scene plays out, I almost said shot for shot then, obviously not shot for shot, but this scene plays out just as it does, but they're all hurling Shakespearean insults at each other, and the reactions are all Shakespearean in their manner and language. It's really quite something. It's a lot funnier than it sounds, actually, in a way. It's definitely worth checking out.
Oh,
that sounds amazing.
That does sound really, really good.
They're called Husky Jackal, and if you look up on YouTube Terminator II or Husky Jackal or Terminator stage production, any of those things, it'll come up with a trailer for it, and it is marvelous. It really is. They have like a cardboard, the famous scene from later on where the truck is chasing Edward Furlong through the dried up riverbed and so on. All that's done with a big cardboard truck and a cardboard motorcycle. It's just brilliant.
I am just realizing as well that the soundtrack to this film is what I imagined badass music. It's not badass music, but as a kid growing up, whenever I'd try and act cool, this would be the soundtrack playing in my head.
Well, the thing is, in some ways, the Terminator, even now, if you're perceiving him as the bad guy, he's a bit of an anti-hero in some respects.
The original, from the first film or from this film?
you're perceiving Arnie as a bit of an anti-hero here, because if we take away the marketing, where you're perceiving well, you can't really say Terminator's good or evil because it's only programmed. It's effectively an object. But if you're perceiving him to be the one who's been another one who's been sent back to kill John or his family or something, he's a bit of an anti-hero. Well, I don't know. Is he?
He looks cool, doesn't he? So there's that aspect. But in both films, the first people he encounters are unsympathetic characters.
Yeah.
So, like in that scene there, he's waltzed into a bar and everyone's kind of been a bit redneck about it all. So you immediately sympathise with him even before you know what's happening, because these guys aren't. If it was a Sunday school he'd walked into to steal clothes from them.
I don't know. I think dressing him in his native lederhosen in a child's size would have been quite hysterical.
There's a movie somewhere where Arnie's done it. There is. Yeah.
But this is quite interesting from a film point of view, because this really is taking the original movie and flipping it. But again, if not for the marketing, you would perceive Robert Patrick as effectively the new Kyle Reese, because he's all right. He's physically in good shape, but he's not a big muscular. Yeah, he looks like a normal kind of guy.
And he's kind of thoughtful looking as well. And in the early scenes before it's hard to think back, isn't it? 30 or 40 years to before we knew what this was all about.
Exactly.
I wonder if Cameron was like pissed by the marketing that gave away the plot twist.
Funnily enough, when I was another weird connection from my childhood to this movie is my dad worked in marketing in the 80s. And the company he worked at was approached to do the marketing for the original Terminator, I'm sorry. And he went to a screening of it with a couple of the other ad people, and they just all walked out again. Well, I haven't got a clue what that was about. And they said, no, that's going nowhere, and they all walked away from it. So,
yep, no one's ever going to watch that piece.
Bit of a mistake, I think, with hindsight.
Exactly. Here's a good question from Onzi. Why did the T-1000 not take the face and the body of this cop too, if he wants to impersonate him? Because then he could use his ID.
Because Robert Patrick. Because movie.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say Robert Patrick is just brilliant, especially if you've seen Peacemaker. It's just, God, I love that show.
Every time I see Robert Patrick in a more like sympathetic role where he's more weaselly, I just can't accept it. He's always the T-1000 in my heart.
And that's not Peacemaker. That is not Robert Patrick.
No.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's still a little part of me when I see Robert Patrick sees the guy with two lines from Die Hard 2.
Right?
What do I look like to you? A sitting duck. That's still kind of the first thing that goes to my mind when I think of Robert Patrick.
I think the thing that's interesting here is no one actually calls John out for the fact he's being an absolute dick to his foster parents, who, quite frankly, are being quite reasonable to him. They're not clearly.
But again, terrible. They do it. They pull it off by having the shot of John riding off on his bike. Then, if his dad wasn't looking so belligerent and dragging on a cigarette, he'd have been the victim in that situation. But they presented him as unsympathetic as well. He's sitting there watching the TV, doesn't care, wants to be left alone.
And Linda Hamilton, one of James Cameron's leading ladies and future ex-wives. Not that he's got a history of adultery with production staff and co-stars, and
I think that's
falls in love easy.
Yeah, you're also legally obligated to do that when you're a director in Hollywood.
I think so.
Wait, so me talking about wanting to be in one of Neil Breen's movies? You telling me something? Well, not exactly Hollywood. I'm a married man. I can't be doing this.
Now, here's Dr. Silverman. Now, where have we seen this actor before? Which 80s classic from Roger Corman might we have seen him in? Rob, it might be one of your bad movies. Let's see if you can work it out.
Oh, God. He's in a bunch of stuff. One thing he's in is The Annihilator, which is a Terminator ripoff, in which he plays basically the same character. It's his job to say, "Really, robots? You're mad." I guess he got typecast. Yeah, just as the guy who says, "Robots, you're mad," whenever robots are taking over the world. What else is he in then? I can't think of anything particular.
He's in Battle Beyond the Stars.
Oh, he is, isn't he? Yes.
He's Nestor.
That's not a bad movie.
One of those. Is he one of those aliens?
He's Nestor, where there are many of him, where they're all dressed the same with it.
Yeah, they're all one of the many aliens. Yeah. All made up. But I suppose they were kind of all made up to look like him then, weren't they? Because they were all like that shape of head and
On the notion of Terminator ripoffs, as the expert, I was also expert witness then, as like the expert among us, Rob.
Sometimes that's how I feel.
Yeah, that we were observing crimes. What is your favorite Terminator ripoff?
Oh, it's Rotor. There is no question that it's Rotor. It absolutely is Rotor. Lady Terminator, the Indonesian, the famous, I think now, Indonesian movie is great. There are several that are great, several that are really good. But Rotor is next level.
Next level.
That's one of the best. It's just fantastic. From the pet robot who dicks about saying the stupidest things.
With the little police hat on, you mean?
With his little police hat on. Yeah, that was a real police robot from Dallas. Some suburban Dallas police department paid a guy to build him for promotional reasons. And so when they were filming down there, they came across it and thought, we'll put you in the movie.
I think they're still like doing that kind of stuff. I think our Cred VC member Carla has mentioned that there is like police sentry units that walk around the streets in Texas specifically.
I bet. I'm sure it must be happening I bet places like Tokyo as well must have, I don't know, something along those lines.
Rotors going around. They were trying to warn us, Rob. They were trying to warn us.
I just want to say, from an IT perspective, as Maple now, IT consultant by trade, this is utter tut what he's doing. Absolute nonsense what he's doing here with a Scion plugged in an ATM. This would never work.
Don't ruin the illusion.
Okay, I just feel like saying that. Only because when I was in school, there was a kid who claimed his uncle had a machine that did the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of those kids, yeah.
Did he wear a Public Enemy t-shirt?
Oh, dear.
That's a favourite little trope of mine, actually, in bad movies, or movies in general, but particularly in bad movies, is anything to do with computers and keyboards and even just typing. There are movies that can't do typing right, which is quite an achievement.
Yes.
There was a film recently that I saw. Oh my God, what was it? It might have been in the cinema recently, but I saw someone physically typing with like individual fingers, and I was like, "What? How old are you?" And it was a young woman.
Meanwhile, the soundtrack was like a bag of gravel being thrown across her.
Exactly. I remember someone did a supercut once of those news reports of people. There was someone at a desk who was pretending to be typing, and you could see in the background this guy, and he was literally like all his fingers were on one line of the keyboard. He was just repeating them like this on one line. Yeah.
You want to zoom in on that, and you'll just see they're typing, "I want to die. I want to die."
I can't believe I'm being paid to type in the background of something.
Oh, now then, we're going to get to something in a minute. Now, of the two orderlies we've seen, which do you think is the creepy, weird one? The jolly black guy, or the wannabe pudgy Elvis impersonator?
It's the one who licks her face, isn't it?
Yeah, but if you look, he's a wannabe Elvis impersonator.
Doesn't he have incredibly thick lenses in his glasses?
Yeah,
as well? Like
he does.
Fishbowl lens.
They recreate that face lick in the Canadian stage reproduction of this film, obviously.
It's important. It's instrumental to the film.
Some lucky actress got to have her face licked by a guy playing a nutter every night.
Oh. To be fair, and if you put yourself into the world of the movie, what she is talking about does make her sound absolutely stark raving mad.
It does.
But then again, I guess if in 2018 I'd said in 2 years there'll be a plague that goes across the planet and transforms the world and lots of people will die and weird things will happen, people would have thought I was mad.
In this day and age, Andrew, you're talking nonsense.
To be honest, if you'd told me after Terminator that Linda Hamilton would give a performance this good, I'd have said you were just as mad as.
Well, yeah, it is incredible. Linda Hamilton in Terminator and Terminator 2. It's night and day.
It's
not
like,
that she's bad. In
no,
Terminator.
there's nothing wrong with her in Terminator, but her job is just to be scared and scream and run away. And this requires her to do real acting. And she does a really good job of it.
She does. I mean, if you consider after Terminator, one of her bigger roles was she was in 2 of the 3 series of Beauty and the Beast with Ron Perlman.
God.
Yeah.
Where she played the love interest. But her job in that was basically to get captured and rescued and scream and cry each week.
She's never really made it in anywhere else, has she? That I can, unless I'm forgetting something.
Not
outside
really,
of Terminator, she's never quite.
Not really, no.
But what a performance to be associated so strongly with.
I think this is a tour de force performance in this movie. I think it's genuinely fantastic, just completely convincing, extremely physical, which is really difficult to do.
I mean, if you look, she worked hard.
Yeah,
she worked out really hard to. Yeah.
Okay, so we're working on Aliens Expanded, as everyone knows, and Ian Nathan has mentioned that James Cameron likes the color blue.
Mm-hmm.
I can't unsee it, and it's driving me slightly mad.
Don't.
Everything is blue.
Don't. I have such a pet hate for this kind of phenomenon as well. I've never noticed it in this movie.
Is Miles Dyson, though, rocking double denim in the long shot?
I believe he is.
That is a dedication to blue if he's even put a main character in double denim.
Yeah.
So much. And it's pierced time and space, even Avatar.
Denim chino combo.
Oh, well, that's slightly more acceptable.
90s, that's pure 90s.
Yeah.
Look how oversized the shirt is as well. God, it's coming back, oversized denim shirts.
I'm ready for that. I can I'm all right
Bust
with that.
out the wardrobe, just nothing but oversized denim. Finally, my time has come.
Me and Neil Breen, we're down with the denim tops.
Trendsetters. I've always thought this storage facility is so cool. Just having things in walls.
Doesn't it make you wonder what's in all the other little
crannies?
Or is it just that they are the only storage points? In which case, what the hell is the design of that room all about?
The rest are decoys.
Shattered Trousers says over on YouTube, Dyson loves his Canadian tuxedo.
Oh, that's the terminology, is it?
Yeah.
The double denim's a Canadian tuxedo.
If I don't let me see my son, his life might go off the rails. He might get into drugs and date a string of actresses and lose his teeth.
Oh, poor guy.
He might star in Pet Sematary 2.
I was about to say that.
I think she's quite brilliant in this in her own.
Oh yeah, she is.
That's because acting is one of the hardest things to do, and I think the director's probably really important there as well. But she's not acting herself; she's acting herself, pretending to say something she doesn't actually believe, and it's normally so overdone. Those things.
Watching her slowly fail to control the anger as well, it's good. Like, it's not like a flick of the switch. Director says action, and she suddenly goes from calm, collected, normal to crazed. It's a slow degradation of her.
It's not telegraphed. Grip. It's not.
Yeah. Ident positive.
I've never noticed how obvious it was that was a stuntman in a shot. Just as he's...
Yeah, but this is the thing that high definition, 4K, etc., causes problems with certain movies and TV shows. It really reveals the secrets.
Yeah. People, I think, don't often realize that although what you're seeing in a cinema, or historically seeing projected from 35mm film in a cinema, is high resolution, that it's also softened a lot by the projection process. Yes. So even if you put the same amount of information on a digital format or on a Blu-ray or whatever, it's going to look different. It's going to look a lot sharper. You're going to see things you don't otherwise see.
Now then, this mall. This is the mall from the Sherman Oaks Mall. And if we look in the background very carefully, we're going to see John Matrix. Swinging across some roof decorations onto the lift.
What other films? Oh, God.
But there's also Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah. And Chopping Mall.
Chopping Mall, that's the one I was trying to think of.
Chopping Mall as well.
Yeah, that's the one I was trying to think of.
Another film with robots that do this a lot, besides Road Tour.
Chopping Mall is magnificent. I love that film.
It's just brilliant.
Chopping Mall is great.
I had the pleasure of doing a watch party for that with Kelly Maroney.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Isn't she great? Isn't she lovely?
She's a sweetheart. She's
Absolute
such a
sweetheart.
Lovely person. And she flattered me because she remembered my name when I came on camera. And I answered her on Zoom. It was like, celebrity knows my name.
Both she and Barbara Crampton are such amazing individuals.
Mm. Linnea Quigley as well.
Yes.
First time I interviewed Linnea Quigley, I got a phone number off her agent, and it was a 6-month dance. Her agent was being a complete prick about it, to be honest, but gave me her number, rang her up, and she answered the phone. And I said, "Hello, is Linnea there?" Because it was a bit confusing, and she just screamed into the phone, "Linnea's on the roof. I think she's going to jump." And she dropped the phone, and I just heard her running off. And okay, hello. So I'm British, you've got to be clear this is a joke, okay?
I can tell you a bit about this mall. This was the Galleria Mall in Sherman Oaks, and now we're starting to see quite a cool reveal twist. The owner of the mall apparently was very open to things being filmed there. That was what Kelly told me. That's why so many films were shot there. But another one that was shot there was Inner Space.
Yeah. Well, the chase at the beginning, I guess. Yeah.
Exactly. That's another notable that was shot there.
I didn't know that.
And now we're seeing something isn't quite right. Because the police officer now has what appears to be a crumpled pucker pie tin on his chest.
Pucker pies.
Sorry, if you're British, you'll get that.
Man, I want a pucker pie now. They're always too hot and too cold at the same time. It's like playing Russian roulette with a pie. You never know if you're going to get a piping hot lava cake or mediocre chicken.
Oh, this is cool. This is where we know there's something a bit weird about this police officer. I mean, I would have loved to have seen this not knowing what was going to happen from the trailers. Can you imagine if you'd gone into this blind and seen like, oh my God, Arnie's now saved John? And the cops attacking him? You're like, what's going on?
And the music here, this music has stuck with me for all 30 plus years of my life. That weird like metal scraping against metal soundtrack is so good.
Yeah.
I remember reading someone describe it as graunching.
Music. It is like twisting metal, isn't it? Which I guess kind of fits the scene we've seen where it is metal on metal fighting.
Also, this is probably one of the best actor running scenes in cinema.
Yeah.
Robert can run like...
Oh, he can.
And he does it really symmetrically as well.
Yeah, and he looks so calm. I'm not out of breath looking at him. He looks so calm. Him and Tom Cruise, they can run so well.
They can. They really can. But I mean,
you think it's easy, but you look at other actors and you see them run, you're like, that's your run? Oh, dude, no. You look weird.
Steven Seagal, man. Steven Seagal.
Oh, Immortal Rimus says, I watched this for the first time on VHS going in blind when I was 5. Oh, that's cool.
Oh, wow. Then tell us your experience, Immortal Rimus. What was it like discovering that Arnie wasn't the bad guy?
If he was 5, he probably didn't have much of a context for the Terminator.
No. He probably didn't go into it thinking, well, they saved humanity in the last film.
Well, I wonder how this is going to develop Cyberdyne's
But they conceived a potential future savior of humanity in that film. Yeah. But this is just something that's very, very cool.
And I've never looked at a truck the same way since. They always look evil to me. Big giant 18-wheelers. This film and the animated Street Fighter 2, the movie, also has a diabolical truck. And so I just can't look at trucks the same way.
What's the truck in Street Fighter 2, the movie? I don't know.
At the very, very end, Bison drives a truck up and Ryu kicks it as the credits start rolling.
Okay.
I don't know if you just noticed, but there was a shot of the truck coming on the bridge, and the shot was actually mirrored because the Freightliner logo badge on the front of the truck was back to front.
Oh.
Just noticed as it was coming off the bridge. Not sure why.
Such a good soundtrack.
This is a good soundtrack. It's such an awesome scene. This is proper action, isn't it?
Also, every time I see water like throughways like this, because there's loads in Vegas here, I'm constantly expecting a child to be on a bike running away from a truck. Always disappointed when I don't see it.
I'd love it if like he just ran head on into the grease lightning coming the other way. And that's how they were all dead at the end of Grease.
Yep. They ran into the T-1000.
But again, being a Brit, as you know, I've been in America recently, but just you probably appreciate this, Dom, from living there now. You see these things like you see these storm drains, you see these such and such, and they're like people who are from the area are just like, oh, it's just a storm sewer, and you're like, no, but it's where the truck drove and the motorcycle. And...
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, no, I expect to see this happening. Like, this is where the films do it. And like we've said previously, like with the Lost Boys and Chinese food in the packaging, we get excited when we see those little packages of Chinese food. And it's not just a tinfoil box.
Yeah, not a little tin box and a plastic bag.
Mm-hmm.
This is so cool, though. This is probably one of the best kind of chases ever done. And it's the way as well. He basically picks him up one-handed off the motorcycle. Look, it's this.
It's funny, isn't it? There are a few moments where modern visual effects techniques would have eliminated something a bit odd, like the blatant stuntman riding the motorcycle or the truck being flipped or whatever. But you can't argue with the fact it's just perfectly shot and edited.
Yeah.
The music is important, but I'm starting to think it's the editing that's the big winner here in this sequence.
There's just so much of it that is absolutely just perfect.
It's a great location for a chase as well, because it's a completely linear environment. It's just, there's no one's going left or right or up or down. It's just, you're going in this line here and you've got to get away from the guy that's behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something a lot of more modern chase sequences don't really get. Like, you have to confine the chase to a linear, A to B point, having the chaser.
But you get chases that are just over the top as well. And I'm going to hark to one of the Fast and Furious films. It was the one. It was the one on the runway where someone worked out. It was about 45 miles long.
I absolutely love those movies, and I know it's incredibly, even for bad movie fans, it's very unfashionable to admit that.
Oh yeah.
But and that it's for reasons like that. Yeah. Reality just didn't matter to them. This is what they wanted to do, and for me it works. It's a ridiculous scene, but
Well,
it's
I'll tell you
exciting.
now, Rob. On the watch parties, we a while ago we came up with the ultimate movie. Tell me if you'd watch this. It's to reboot the Jurassic Park franchise, right? As a xenomorph ship lands in Jurassic Park, so you end up with hybrid xeno dinosaurs, and they send in the Fast and Furious team to sort it out.
Man, I brainstormed Expendables 4 with a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago, but I think this might actually beat it.
Yeah,
I think this might actually be better. Yeah,
yeah.
I would watch that movie. And in fact, where else do they go with it? Because the last one they did a race in space, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like everyone has to go one bigger than the one before. What's left? Time travel, maybe.
I honestly think alien dinosaurs. Don't tell me you don't want to see Dominic Toretto racing off in his Charger against a xenomorph raptor.
Yeah, those words will never leave my mouth. No, I'm all in favour of that. All in favour of it. As long as they take it seriously.
I know. Yeah, they have to take it dead serious.
I'll be honest though, Edward Furlong was a really good child actor in this for the time.
Yeah,
he's brilliant. He's just brilliant. But don't you know, all along you kind of sense this guy is not going to end well.
Yeah. Unfortunately. One of the many childhood actors who got kind of chewed up and spat out by the machine. Much like Macaulay Culkin. But the interesting thing was, if you notice, it didn't happen to the Harry Potter kids, but there was a reason why. Chris Columbus felt guilty after his work in the Home Alone films with what happened with Macaulay Culkin, and put protections in place to ensure that the kids in the Harry Potter films had more structure around them.
Good. It's the family, isn't it? I think that's the important. And Macaulay Culkin's parents were scumbags, as I understand.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know the
allegedly.
Story. Allegedly. Whereas Harry Potter's parents, I'm sure he's got a real name, were. I remember reading interviews at the time, them saying, that they didn't want him to go for it. They were both in the industry, I believe, and it sounds like they were. Also, people just know more now, don't we? We know the dangers more.
Mm. All the memes that have come from this exact
Someone
exchange.
has just posted a picture of a muscle car being chased by a T-Rex. It's everything I need in life.
Perfect.
I love that Fast and Furious franchise. I think it's just fantastic. It's got everything. It's got cheesiness, just good old-fashioned cheesiness like the original. And then there's some genuinely really good action movies in there. The fifth one is a great action movie. And then just the wondrous excess of the later ones that's just so ridiculous.
Now, there was a quip. When I watched this as a kid, there's always a quip here that I thought she should have said when we get the reveal in just a moment. It's, I told you not to drink from the milk. No? Told you not to drink from the carton. And of course, that's Jeanette Goldstein, who's been in quite a few of James Cameron's films, playing most famously Vasquez, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And what's his name? I can't remember his name now, but he's been in
It's been bugging me since I saw him at the beginning of the film. I'm like, what's his name? Oh God, it's a Q.
He's been in Xander Berkeley.
Xander Berkeley. It's an X.
It's an X. I might have made that up, but I think it's
Xander Berkeley.
Berkeley.
Right.
Xander Berkeley, yeah.
He's in a bunch of. I think is he Gina Davis's boyfriend in The Fly, and he's in a bunch of stuff around.
I know he was in a TV show.
24. He was in 24. That's kind of what I know him best from, actually. He was one of the unpleasant characters.
I think he had a decent arc. He became likable, didn't he? But he was also in. These are recreated photos, aren't they? They're not actually stills from the first Terminator. But yeah, Xander Berkeley had a show where he was essentially a very small budget show where he was the devil, I believe, and he worked out of a diner, and people would go into the diner and make a deal with him. And it was a weirdly wholesome, pleasant show. It was very good, I think.
Yeah. I've got to say that I'm picking up on the product placement in this film a bit. We've had Pepsi a few times and Subway a few times.
Eat fresh.
It's really nicely shot as well, isn't it?
It is.
The cinematography is really well done, but I know Adam Greenberg didn't. I don't think anyway. He did a lot of other major, big, successful movies. I think he's mainly known for Cannon, wasn't he? He was Menachem Golan's cinematographer of choice for a while.
Oh, probably the cheapest then.
Yeah. I think he actually worked on some of his early Israeli movies before the Cannon days, even.
Oh, but I do love some Cannon stuff. I cry nearly every time I watch Delta Force at the very end.
Because it's so
Sorry,
good.
I shouldn't laugh.
No, the ending of Delta Force is so sad if you watch it.
Well, yeah.
Where there's a big celebration of them. All the people are coming home. Everyone's applauded. But Delta Force very quietly exit out the back of the plane.
Oh yeah,
no praise, carrying their dead colleague, and you just get the captain, the captain of the plane, like the only one noticing, kind of saluting them. And they go on their own. Honestly, it's moving stuff.
I just keep thinking of like Superman 4 and Death Wish 3. Like those are the
Death Wish 3 is a great. Death Wish 5 is the underrated one. That's the one people don't realise. I think Red Letter Media or someone really big did Death Wish 3, and I think it kind of turned it into a huge, and it is absolutely wonderful, don't get me wrong. But Death Wish 5 is a great one.
If I ever won like the lottery and won like mega money, I think my ambition would be to fix one of the injustices.
Yeah.
No, to fix one of the injustices in the world. I would buy the rights to Canon, to re-own Canon Pictures as just the company, and then I'd buy the rights to Jim Carter and make it a Canon movie.
It is the Canon movie that Canon didn't make, isn't it?
It is.
It wouldn't. Canon couldn't have made that movie in a way because it would never have been shot on location for one thing. So you wouldn't have that environment and the
pommel horse in the middle of the street.
It's not a pommel horse; it's a meat curing device.
That makes more sense.
I love Jim Carter. It's so bad.
I had the absolute.
When he, flips to talk to himself.
Arguing with the princess and himself. I had the absolute pleasure of talking to Richard Norton about that and telling him, and he was like, we just like shot the breeze for a bit, talking about the big, Mad Max, and Fury Road wasn't that old at the time, so he was full of that, and it was great. And he was like, anyway, so what do you want to talk to me about? Jim Carter. He just burst out laughing. Fucking hell. Okay, you want to talk about Jim Carter? Why? Well, did you know it's like a cult favorite? He just went, fuck off. He had no idea. This is a few years ago now, but he had no idea it was.
Well, maybe if we cross our fingers just enough, Robin will let us
watch Jim Carter.
No, Jim Carter expanded.
Oh yes, it has to happen. Let us know in the comments if you need to see Jim Carter expanded.
The blue thing is getting. I can't ignore the blue now.
I know. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry. Ian Nathan ruined it for me, so I'm ruining it for you.
It's still better than that cyan look that every other modern shiny Hollywood blockbuster has to have now. I can't bear that. I think that's the Matrix's fault, maybe.
putting a
I always wondered why they never made sequels to the Matrix, because he flew off at the end, and
yeah.
who knows what further adventures
was
he
never
had.
seen.
Creepy Elvis wannabe.
Yep.
When I was growing up, one of my friends, their dad had this kind of look, and he drove a creepy Lada, and he had probably more product in his hair, and you got that really like, he's a wrong and I don't want to be near him vibe. He wasn't, but he just got that vibe from him.
It's how do you make a scene so uncomfortable that you can just feel the sleaze on your skin? Just have him lick her face.
The way the camera so slowly follows him down there, that's a big help, I think.
It is. The camera is very mobile in this movie. It's moving even on long shots where movement isn't necessary. Like here, the camera sways very slightly, and it adds a lot to the enjoyment of a film. When you compare this to something more modern where cameras are far more static, ironically, given that cameras back then were huge, immovable things, less so in 91, I suppose, but even films in the 80s, you have a lot more movement. And now a lot of films have very little movement. It's shot, reverse shot, or not, like no panning shots, very few panning shots. Like this didn't have to be panned. That insert of the T-1000 walking in didn't need any movement.
Yeah, no, the way that would be shot now is, yeah, there would perhaps be less movement, but there would also be at least 3 different angles and cuts.
Yeah,
it's something I keep noticing now is just how long they'll hold a shot for.
Yeah,
even in an action scene.
I miss action scenes having long drawn.
Yeah.
The Mortal Kombat movie that came out recently, I was so disappointed that every fight scene has at least 700 cuts. It's just, even the old Mortal Kombat movie didn't have that.
Yeah, and that reset the boundaries even then.
Yeah, but I miss the fight scenes of the old Golden Harvest type films where they would try and make it one shot, but there'd be a cut in the fight, and they would just jump as they were fighting.
Yeah.
They're the best. They're the Golden Harvest movies of the 80s. The best fight scenes, full stop, all time, no question.
How can you say that when you've seen Rotor with the fight scene in the background that happens at the end?
I was thinking of that locked off camera in the cafe where Rotor just slowly shuffles into shot and starts pushing people about, and they all do karate, even though no one's ever seen anyone do karate before.
Oh, it's great.
I've
never looked at linoleum the same way either, like looking at the floor.
I think one of my favorite sort of action martial arts movies of that era would be No Retreat, No Surrender. Which, if you ever look into it, that film's really, sorry, let's go back to this film here. This is a stunning scene where we're seeing he's blended into the floor.
Yeah.
And takes on, the morphing here is just incredible for the time. Played by quite famous twins who were in Gremlins 2.
Scientists, weren't they? Yeah.
They were there, yeah.
But it's the little personality bit with the cup and the poker hand on the cup that sells the visual effects do the job they're meant to do. But
yeah.
I like to think in between shots, each twin played the opposite, like again and again.
Well, there's 2 sets of twins in this movie. So we've got one set here. Where's the other twin?
Where is the other twin?
Is there a child?
No. Let's see if our community gets it.
Oh, that's not fair. The community are amazing at this kind of stuff. We're on the spot.
I know. So I was thinking about No Retreat, No Surrender. It's one of my... There we go. Sharon got it, Calvert got it. It's Linda Hamilton. At the end scenes, it's Linda Hamilton is a twin. And you see her twin sister in the scenes with the T-1000.
I did know she had a twin, but I'd forgotten. But I didn't know the twin was anything to do with this.
Mm-hmm. I love the fact that she broke the broom handle instead of unscrewing it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep. Yeah, I can feel that.
that's
Oh.
justified.
That's
Oh,
the
for sure.
opportunity she's been waiting for months, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's completely sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a big Van Damme fan, but even for me, No Retreat, No Surrender is a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, but have you ever seen how many different versions there are of the movie?
No.
Right.
More than there need to be.
No, there's all these different cuts of it where like whole subplots are erased from it.
Oh.
And like characters disappear and appear. It's really weird. It's scored differently in different regions with different songs in it, different soundtrack. It's honestly, and this whole just loads of scenes and everything just completely different no matter where you get it. Someone's done a supercut on YouTube where they've restored all the footage because there's like this thing in it where there's a whole subplot about where he has this girl that he knows. Randomly, he just goes on a girl with a date, and she just appears in the movie for no reason. It's crazy. It's one of those. It's a curio for me. That film is. I liked it as a kid, but when you get into it, it's just even more crazy.
It's one of
more
the
a Jackie Chan fan than a Van Damme fan as a kid.
Yeah, I was a Van Damme fan, but then not long after, maybe the mid '90s, I discovered Jackie Chan, and there was no looking back.
I think it was Rumble in the Bronx that got me into Jackie Chan movies. Good God, that was amazing. The fight scenes in that. Oh. Okay, I would be terrified.
to interject on this scene here, I would hope that she's actually wiped the needle's outer off before she even sticks. Because if you look, she sticks the needle into his neck.
Yeah, she does. It's all right.
Always
it's only a little bit cringe. Of toilet drain cleaner. It's fine.
Drain cleaner, yeah, liquid drain cleaner. It's also quite cool if you notice that because the Terminator doesn't need the light, he's always driving the motorcycle with no headlights on.
Yeah.
At night.
I've only just realised how much later it is than I thought that we realise he is a goodie. In my mind, even though I only watched this a few months ago, in my mind, it wasn't until, I suppose it's because that's the moment he walks out of the lift in the hospital is the moment that Linda Hamilton realises he's...
Yeah. That Harley makes such a great vehicle for sneaking up on somebody in the garage, doesn't it?
Hang on, she's the Elvis Presley looking one here, or him maybe. In fact, there are several people. Why does everyone who work here?
It's like a colony of Elvis Presley. None of them you'd leave them looking after your kids, would you? You'd be like, nope.
Maybe they're all big Elvis fans. Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. He's so good. Is it Earl Bowen, the guy, Dr. Silverman? He's so good at looking just thoroughly pissed off with the situation.
Yeah.
Well, usually he's a victim in nearly every film he's in some shape or form.
He always plays characters who seem to feel that they haven't had a fair run of it.
Yeah.
Somehow there's always...
That was a risk, wasn't it? Of the orderly thinking he could pull the syringe out that easily. Also, I want to know why they took the opportunity to show that one guard having what appears to be like a sprained or a broken arm or wrist.
Yeah.
I want to know the backstory as to why.
Oh, wait. Perhaps she broke her wrist.
Maybe there's a deleted scene or something that shows it.
Yeah, I feel like we should know this, but it must be something she has done in either that's in a deleted scene or is referenced in a scene that we don't see.
It's because it's quite an unusual choice to just give someone randomly a cast on their arm.
So subtle.
Lizard Man says, I think the extended cut says Sarah broke her wrist or something. That's what I would have guessed, something along those lines.
Again, I watched the extended one just a few months ago, but
it's one of those movies you just pick up on extras from. But again, how awesome is this scene here where, for her, she's seeing...
Never noticed how blue it is. Have you ever noticed how blue James Cameron's films are?
It really is. It is lit, though, like the moon is just hovering outside the window, literally
Yes.
about the same level.
All the windows as well, like the opposite ends of the building, I think.
Oh. That orderly / NFL player who just tackled her professionally.
That one orderly looked a bit like Gary Busey.
God,
But I can assure you, in a psychiatric facility, Gary Busey is not one of the staff.
Oh, that must have hurt.
Yeah.
Famous line.
Yeah.
Who are you? Child, I don't know, because I've not seen in years.
I love Silverman's reaction to all this. The cocktail stick or whatever it is just falling out of his mouth.
It's the needle cap, isn't it?
Oh, it's the needle cap, yeah.
Oh, it's such a great scene. Yes.
The big metal wounds that open up, they're so
fake.
Oh, yes, but they look great. They look terrible, but they look amazing.
They do.
It's just satisfying. It looks like someone's got a tin can and just cracked it open, put it in the microwave for a bit.
I think it reminds you that his uniform is part of
him
whole. Yeah, that's a pet peeve of mine when they shoot people in movies and the gaping wound is visible, whereas in reality the shirt would have just kind of closed over it again, or you wouldn't really see through the shirt or whatever. But I suppose that's what's meant to be different. It's actually part of him.
Yeah. We can see, though, Sarah is basically just all about her. She's obviously had, well, we know she's a training with mercenaries and guerrillas and whatever now. And it's just that training for her kicking in now.
Exactly, yeah. We think this is the worst day of her life. She's been waiting fucking years for this. This is all she's wanted forever.
Yeah.
Is for this to happen and for her to kick into automatic killer mode.
Yeah.
The same with John's training, though. Like, he's handing his mother clips.
Yeah.
Without being asked.
Yeah, but we know we find out shortly in the film, spoilers, that he hung around with some of her boyfriends who were these mercenaries who she appeared to only be in relationships with them to learn this kind of stuff. And they were teaching him sort of how to handle guns and things.
I don't know if that's normal in America. Some of us in Britain have this concept of America as a land of gun-toting and so on. But yeah, teaching your child how to kill with guns is definitely an idiosyncratic thing, shall we say.
Well, I'm going to post a picture in our Discord, actually, I took last week as I was on my way to the airport. Let me post it.
A frightening segue there, Andrew.
No, but you'll see why. You'll see why. Let me find this picture.
Here's a picture of me teaching a child how to kill.
No. Let me find the picture. Here we go. There we go. There we go. Don will be able to see it. Don, can you please read that out for our guest?
Let's have a gander. Oh, it appears my Discord has decided to crash on me.
Oh, I'll let you
Just
load
load
it.
it up
'cause
again
it's-
and let's get up my phone instead. PC's being a pain.
I was in Florida on holiday a couple of just before COVID, the year before COVID.
Yes, I've just come back from
And,
Florida.
I absolutely love it there. I really do.
Yeah, I've just been three times in the past year.
Ah, you definitely
This-
love it then.
Well, I
this
had a Disney World annual
billboard-
pass, so
Uh,
there we go.
I went family holiday and I came across a leaflet in a mall saying, "Do you want to shoot machine guns? Because you
Guess
can."
what?
That was basically
Yes.
it. And that was all my holiday was about. Being from Britain, I'm quite glad that we don't have
Yes.
guns on the streets and so on. But at the same time, I fucking love them because I'm a movie
Yeah.
nerd. So I had
so-
to go to this place and do it.
It wasn't. Was it
Oh,
Machine Gun America by chance?
No, it was just it was an independent. Well, they had like 3 or 4 places throughout
Yeah.
Florida. It turns out.
Well, Machine Gun America is apparently fun for the entire family, starting at just $24.99 per person. You can shoot real machine guns, and there is this picture on this billboard of the whole family holding up a target and having lots of fun.
So my wife wouldn't let the children in the shop, so they went to the aquarium that day.
What?
And I went down on a quiet Tuesday morning. But the best thing was it was so quiet, and it was like a shop with a range attached to it. And I got chatting. It turns out the guy who owns it is from North London, and then it turns out he's from Kentish Town in Camden, which is where I lived for 10 years or so. And it turns out he used to live in the next street to me.
Bloody
in
hell,
North
it's a
London.
small world.
So after 20 minutes of talking about that, he made the mistake of assuming I could be trusted, and he's supervised me with the it was an Uzi and a couple of other machine guns. I didn't get my hands on an AK-47 or an M16 or anything quite like that. Had some fun with this.
Like Arnie's about to.
That's what I would. There was one on display, but he was sitting no, it's not going to happen, mate. But we did all this with the machine guns, and then he just left me with a 9mm handgun and a few clips of ammo, and just like, knock yourself out, and left me on my own in his range. And within 30 seconds of that door shutting, you better believe I was doing roly-polies up and down the aisle, leaping up out of different corners, shooting.
Oh, this is why we need to train you at a young age. So that
Yeah, but this is why I would never be allowed to have a gun, because I know I'm an idiot. And have you ever seen the episode of The Simpsons where Homer gets a gun, he's using it to change the channel on the TV, open the beer, that kind of thing? That would be me. I used to have on my desk a folding Stanley knife, craft knife, for the Americans out there. And I had to take it away because I nearly cut myself several times because I'd be on calls with work. And I just picked it up and start messing with it in my hand, folding it, flicking the blade out, and that kind of stuff. A gun, I'd be using it to scratch my back.
Yeah,
my God.
Exactly. This is what my wife pointed out. It is a very good thing. I'm very accident. I actually set myself on fire once. I'm so accident prone. Spent a month in hospital.
Oh, God.
So yeah, it's a
Andrew
good thing that I don't have a gun.
Andrew famously almost killed himself with a can of baked beans. So.
Oh, that's a few weeks ago. Yeah, that was fun. I ended up with burns and blisters from heating some beans up in the microwave.
I did actually. I managed to injure myself during this. I don't want to go on about it, but I managed to injure myself during this shoot because I've just noticed. It just happened to take this out a couple of weeks ago. So that is a 9mm shell shot from a regular handgun, and that is shot from the elephant gun the guy let me try.
Oh, for God's sake!
He said, "This is the most dangerous gun in the building because everyone who fires it knocks themselves out." So that's all right. Well, I'm not going to knock myself out, and instead I took a big chunk out of my thumb with the hammer. You see, guns are dangerous. It's not a joke.
And yet you're both advertising for playing with them. But it is a small world.
Here we are. In the film now, this line he's doing that's dubbed over is actually changed from it's sort of deleted scene where he's saying it can learn. he actually would have said originally that my CPU is in sort of read-only mode and it needs to be switched to learning mode. And then there's a whole deleted scene where they famously cut a hole in his head, take his CPU out, and Sarah wants to basically use the opportunity to smash it and kill him.
Destroy it.
Yeah.
But they flip it over and put it back in and lock it in. But he says, "Did everything go okay?" And they don't tell him about the secret.
I'd never seen that before until the last time I watched this, and I thought it was a really interesting addition. I don't know if I think it maybe slows it all down a bit too much, potentially, but it's a good scene and interesting.
Yeah.
These are my favorite parts of the film.
Yeah. These scenes were a gift for Arnold and the character in general because of what it allows him to do in response to this.
Was this the first time you heard that phrase, "Hasta la vista, baby"?
Yeah. But unfortunately, it suffered the Austin Powers thing of just getting overquoted everywhere.
Yeah.
Like all the quotes from The Mask did as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's an Indian rip-off movie which rips off, amongst other things, Terminator 2, called Judgement.
Okay.
And they even have that line. It's hilarious. When you watch these Indian movies, there's never any subtitles or anything like that. So it's just, Hindi dialogue usually. But every now and again, well, obviously not an English phrase in this term, but a phrase you recognize. So it's just this hectic dialogue, and then suddenly, "Hasta la vista, baby."
Nonsense. We're not self-destructive or anything.
We're not obsessed with guns, going to gun
playing with them
places. And...
yeah. Oh, actually, when I had my internet installed here, I had a router upgrade a couple of years back, and the guy who was installing it was like, "Hey, so you got 2 different bands of Wi-Fi to connect your devices to. What do you want to name them?" And I said Skynet and Cyberdyne, and he looked at me and he was like, "What does that mean?" And I was like, "Oh, get out of my house, leave."
Learn your movie references, man.
Exactly.
Don't come to my house if you don't have a working knowledge of pop culture movies of the 90s.
How do you work in technology and don't know the Terminator?
I used to have a Bates Motel soap dish.
Oh, amazing!
Many years ago, and had a builder around to do something, and he came out going, "Oh yeah, borrowed that from the Bates Motel, did you? I won't tell anyone, don't worry." And off he went. And he literally thought I'd stolen it from somewhere called the Bates Motel.
No. I don't have anything that great about work. Well, I had a guy who installed my broadband at my old house, but he was this old engineer who had to install the new broadband, but he hated everything, and he was obviously nearing retirement years, and he'd lost his inner monologue. Because he'd mutter under his breath really offensive things when he was doing it. So on the socket installed over there, bastard things, these packets. He was just muttering to himself the whole time. Really, like kind of psychotic.
Amazing. I'd ask him to come back. You missed a spot, dude. You missed. I think this is why I enjoyed the Sarah Connor Chronicles as much as I did, because it's like the series.
Well, I do think Sarah's a much more interesting character than John.
For sure. Even in this film, like John he's present and
he's almost just a concept.
Yeah.
The more they flesh him out, the worse it gets.
Yeah, he's better off just as this MacGuffin.
But Shattered Trousers says, don't let that internet installer go to the bathroom. I'll bet he doesn't even know about the 3 seashells.
He probably doesn't know. Oh, the amount of times I've made that joke.
I've been there actually. I had for a period. I did have 3 seashells on the as a student. This was, and yeah, it was it distinguished everyone who used your toilet between someone who knows what they're talking about and someone who doesn't.
There are 2 kinds of people in this world: those that know of the seashells, those that don't. I wonder if the filmmakers are proud of the fact that the film's most remembered for having an incomprehensible toilet system.
I was talking to someone about Demolition Man the other day. I honestly think that is a fantastic movie.
It is.
I just think it's great.
It's Sandra Bullock's best acting role.
Don't forget
She
Speed
plays
2.
the same character. Oh, she plays just Sandra Bullock. Wait,
No, in Speed 2, she plays a version of Sandra Bullock you just want to shoot in the face. It's unbearable. That movie is unbearable, and it's because of her, largely.
Speed 2, the boat one.
That's a rather substantial sort of cache of ammo, water, and food and stuff. But then when you see these preppers in America, the people who do believe that they go up in the mountains and they believe that the world is all going to come crashing down, this isn't too far from reality.
Not just preppers. I've got friends down in Tennessee, and my mate Tim's a casual
prepper.
But he doesn't prep for anything in particular. He just keeps supplies in his basement, and it's so well organized and stocked. And then you just look to one side, and there's like a row of guns, and you're like, oh. But it's so categorized and organized. It's impressive. And then when one supply gets slightly low, he goes out and gets more.
Yeah, but it's the difference between being sort of genuinely prepared for maybe something not being so great and being sort of psychotically paranoid. There's a fine line between it.
Yeah, the term casual prepper doesn't necessarily make sense, does it?
I dabble in apocalypse preparation.
Yeah. I've just got one foot in it, because you never know. Love this shot.
It's just the familiarity of the gun. There's no, it's like, yeah, I've done this millions of times before, the way she's doing it.
Knows it like the back of her hand. And John's barely phased by it all. He's been through it 1,000 times.
Yeah, I suppose if you were raised with it.
I suppose in John's history, from this film in particular, every male role model in his life, his mother has brought in, and his mother has decided when that role model leaves. And
yeah, because ultimately it appears ultimately she was using these men as tutors, as people to get to her, to fill her means to end, weren't they? I don't think she was looking for any proper relationships with these guys. It was like, he can get me guns, he can teach me how to build bombs. It was quite cold on her part.
John leadership.
It's hard to imagine any of them were quite as calm as the Terminator as well, and quite as. Yeah. I suppose also he spent his whole life with his mum teaching him things, and these men teaching him things, and now it's his responsibility to teach Arnold things. Like not killing people.
But Fraglord made a really good point about the film here over on Discord. This pause is actually a great break in a tense movie. It might have lost traction if made by a lesser director. It is. It's a nice off the action, but it also has that what I call the Jaws thing about it, because you're wondering right now, what is the T-1000 doing? He's off camera, but you know he's plotting, he's doing something.
There's a it's a sense of there's a reboot going on. There is no. I've thought about this before actually. Like, surely they could just hide from, because he has no supernatural means of finding them.
No.
So, but we don't think he's hiding, and we don't think that they think they're hiding. We know full well we're taking a breath before the inevitable confrontation comes. We know full well this is kind of a reboot.
Yeah.
We're also taking a breath from the blue.
Yeah.
Now then, I think I remember this. Yes. It was either a deleted scene or in a novelization, one of the things. Basically, the T-1000 did track Enrique down and kill him and his family. To find out where they were. I'm not sure which of the various continuities or whatever it was in, but it was either in a book or that's it. Here we are. That was it. I remember it's from that book I had when I was a kid. I just found the article here. In one of the storyboards, he was killed by the T-1000. Him and his family were butchered by the T-1000 after torturing them to find out where they went. But it does make you wonder about how the T-1000 would have found them. But I don't know. Maybe he's got some way of tracking things, or I don't know.
It's a movie.
Yeah, don't worry about it too much.
If you're not I've never, it's never distracted me. It's never.
No,
and that's the rule, isn't it? You can tear any movie apart thinking A shouldn't lead to B, shouldn't lead to C. If you're not thinking about it, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. I mean, don't ever, in any movie that features time travel, do not think about it.
When a film can make you forget your reality and suck you completely into theirs and make it completely believable, it's doing a hell of a job.
I remember seeing this, and I was, I think I was 13 because I saw it at the cinema. Of course, it was 15. I had to sneak in, or rather, I was underage for it at the cinema. And honestly, I just remember coming out going, "Oh my God, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen."
I remember this one scene giving me nightmares for many moons to come.
Yeah, that's a good point, Shattered Trousers. I think it's more logical to think the T-1000 is back in the city monitoring the police radio and watching for any public sightings of his targets.
People find people at the end of the day, and we don't need to know the details. We don't need to see it happen.
At the end of the day, he would have been programmed. We know he would have been programmed with as much knowledge of the situation as he could have been that was available, and also he did have the resources, effectively, of the police, it appears. No, Lizard Man, we did not put on The Day After by mistake. We're not going to see Steve Guttenberg die. And Jason Robards sit in his fireplace being fed a radioactive orange. It's not going to happen.
See, it's fine, Sarah. The world hasn't been destroyed. There's just a emaciated-looking helicopter.
Yeah, don't worry about that either. It's all right.
Yeah, but now she's thinking, no fate but that which we make ourselves. So she has to now go and, she, in her mind now, has to go and change history. Change future history. James Hellier referring back to The Day After, saying Jason Robards surviving a nuclear blast by being in a Volvo. That really would happen with a 1980s Volvo.
How important do we think this is, and the Terminator landscape, the whole question of fate and whether these first two films really do say something about it, whether they really do say something about whether or not we can control the future and control fate. I see with the modern ones, people, the recent Terminator movies, people have got quite cross about it, contradicting what Cameron was saying. But to me, it was never hugely important, really.
But actually, if you think about it, the Terminator movies follow the Avengers Endgame method of time travel, that it's impossible to change the future, because if you see through the movies as these all gone along, in the latter ones, we're not going to get into the content of them, but the inevitability is that the bad thing will always happen. No matter what they change, it will always happen. So ultimately, you can't change the future.
It might sound silly, but I don't know how important that is in a time travel movie, because everything happens anyway. It's the stuff that the movie needs to happen is what happens.
Yeah.
Love that sound. That could only be a radio control car from the 80s or 90s.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Got some proper typing like we spoke about. He's got a model flying about on screen and he's
typing away. This is such an early 90s, like preppy functional house, isn't it? Weird obsidian pillars just randomly scattered throughout the living room.
Steps that serve no purpose other than allowing a monster truck to fall down them.
Yeah.
Interesting way.
Well, that computer he's working on is doing really well. There's actually no power cable in the back of it.
God, how terrifying would that be? Like, as a family man, desperate to get your wife and kids out of there.
The fact she's just fired off 200 odd rounds without hitting anything important would do something to make me feel safe, I think.
Yeah.
True.
This is the point at which I'd probably start to feel less safe.
Yeah. But here's the thing. We know in theory she's probably a good enough shot to have killed him outright then. But she shot him in the shoulder while he was running away, even though she could have shot him in the head or the heart. And we can see how torn she is now, even about not killing him.
I think she shot him in the shoulder rather than the head, because the movie needed her to be honest.
You don't think it was a conscious decision from the character?
I don't. Up until that point, she was trying to kill him. She wanted to execute him, but
she wanted to, but she missed with every shot. You said she shot 200 shots.
So you're quite right. Yeah, you're quite right. A subconscious element I'm not considering.
I like to think that she's torn up about it and she doesn't want to kill him.
That is such an 80s, 90s sofa, by the way. That is. It looks like it's decorated like the lobby of a
hotel,
like of an office in the air. Exactly. People are saying she's effectively become a Terminator herself and realizes she can't.
Yeah.
Because this is where the first time we're really starting to see her show emotion to her son. And we're just about probably 2/3 into the film, if not knocking on 3/4, probably getting there. The film is about to pick up its pace, and it just rails for the next 40 minutes, doesn't it? As soon as we get going.
It just doesn't stop when it gets going, like a bloody freight train.
Oh, this is the scene. This still makes me cringe now. Where he...
Yeah, I love this bit.
Oh.
Where he just unzips his wrist.
I've got a question for you. What did they do with the in the continuity of the movie? How do you dispose of?
I've never thought of that before. But yeah, he must put it back on, basically.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't, because you see later on he wears a black glove over that. Yeah. So he's all right because he's just like that. But have they just left like effectively
a wrist skin,
wrist and hand skin?
Or would he arguably not put it back on and then put a glove on to kind of hold it in place?
No, because you see later on that the glove is directly on his hand, on his robotic hand.
He put it in the disposal. Who knows?
There are stupider ways of doing that scene though, because there's a rip-off called Tomorrow Man, a TV movie with, I think it's Jason Isaacs, and it's really a rip-off too. He's a robot from the future who comes back in time to only not to save mankind, but to basically tell mankind how great they are. It's kind of a weird eco spin on it. It's very strange. But he does the same thing where he proves that he's a robot by cutting the skin off his hand and skinning his arm. And then immediately afterwards, his head turns into the head of an eagle. And you kind of think, well, that would have convinced me that you're not a regular human. Just you don't need to remove some fake skin from your hand.
You might have thought it was Manimal, just on the eagle head.
Or an animorph. Manimal.
I
will not hear Manimal being disparaged.
I love Manimal, man. I used to adore Manimal.
Exactly.
Oh. And what's the actor's name? He's
Simon McCorkindale.
Simon McCorkindale. He's the best thing in Jaws 3.
He is. He's absolutely brilliant in Jaws 3.
Wait, Jaws 3 The Revenge?
Yeah, he's brilliant in it.
Isn't Michael Caine in Jaws 3 The Revenge?
No. That's Jaws 4. I think it's Jaws 4 The Revenge. Oh. That's the really bad
Jaws 3.
Oh, Jaws 3D.
Inexcusably bad one.
Yeah.
Jaws 3 3D is brilliant because it's got really cheesy 3D in it, because it's like it's the phone for you, and there's even a bit where someone fills a syringe up and they hold it up to the camera and squirt the lens.
And there's a fantastic shot where you see through like a glass window into the sea, and the shark approaches the window and nudges it with its nose, at which point the window shatters. But they didn't have a visual effects shot worked out for what happens next, so the frame just freezes. There's like 5 frames where they just hold on it. I don't know what you're meant to think.
If someone from the future came back now and told us that Aliens Expanded or In Search of Darkness 3 would cause Skynet to appear, I'd be devastated as well. I'd be like, oh, but you sure it's not something else? Sure it's not another documentary made by someone else that does it? Do we have to not make us?
And this still holds up in a little while as one of the greatest practical special effects ever done.
For sure. And a coffee. It's sad. It's my water.
Oh, I love the fact that Dyson's just wandering around with his hand in his pocket because his shoulder doesn't work anymore.
Tends to do that when you get shot.
This guy's like, oh, fucking hell, it's the night shift. Leave me alone. I don't need
I
this.
know.
Reading my book.
I'm covering for Jimmy, that prick. He took a night off.
That face just says anything you're going to say, I'm not going to believe.
Yeah. This woman, her son, and this exceedingly large man who's showing no emotion with a gun. They wish to have a look around the lab. And the fact I'm keeping my hand in my pocket isn't at all suspicious.
Why has the kid got duct tape?
It's so well cast, isn't it? When you think of it, I mean, everyone in that frame is irreplaceable. The guy who plays Miles Dyson as well, I think it's just fabulous.
Yeah.
He's perfect.
Yeah.
What I would have liked to have seen, though, is the scene where they have to have two keys turned simultaneously to open the chamber. Edit in the scene from Superman 3 where they have to do the same, and it's comedic. Where he ends up having to... He has to take a passed out security guard with string and tie it around and leave.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love it. It's just like really comedic kind of. Yeah, putting it through the thing too fast. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. You can't
Slower.
read it. You're too fast. Anyone who's ever worked with those card readers knows you have to go, no, I can try again.
But the silent alarm's been triggered. We know because the word alert is flashing on all the computer screens for some reason.
In my experience, all that means is that one of the doctors in the surgery got really interested in the shiny red button on their screen. For backstory reference, I used to work for the NHS in England, and there was a silent alarm system. If a patient got very aggressive, for example, they'd hit the silent alarm and everyone would come running. Weekly basis, at least, someone would be like, what's this red shiny alert thing do? Oh no, why are people storming my room? It's like, oh. A bandolier of grenades.
That's
So
got to
cool.
be a Rocky, a Rambo reference, isn't it? I've always assumed that has to be a Rambo reference.
But that was very cool. That was a clean room that he just went into. So that's where there was that vacuum kind of hush.
Yeah.
Halon, which is no longer used in server rooms and things like that because it's so deadly. Because I got
right for a Rambo film.
In the late 90s, I was working in IT in server rooms and things. One of my colleagues got in trouble with the health and safety inspector because he wasn't disarming the halon system before going in the room, and was informed if the system went off, it would displace all the oxygen in his lungs and he would not be able to breathe to get out of the room.
Wow.
I never actually got to see it triggered or go off, though. It's a shame.
Darn.
So, of course, it appears he's killed a motorcycle cop now.
Yeah, I've never thought about that, but yeah. And also, he doesn't actually need... So, him being there raises the question of how he knew to go there to Miles Dyson's
Well, he might have
house,
known there was something like an alarm gone off at Miles' house, or there'd been reports from the neighbours of gunshots at Miles'
But then he doesn't need to go there because he ends up just hearing on his dispatch radio that this other thing's going on.
But is he investigating because he thinks they might still be there?
And we're only talking about this because we're talking to each other, thinking about it and picking holes. Yeah, it's not...
Oh, Onzi, what computer is John Connor using? It's a Scion. personal organizer.
So yeah, I
One of the
just
various
looked up because my memory is terrible. But James Cameron actually did the screenplay for Rambo 2. So
Yeah.
maybe the bandolier was a total
Yeah.
reference to Rambo. I know. Well, Aliens is. I believe he was heavily inspired by Vietnam stories.
Well, our friend Gary on YouTube says the T1000's motorcycle cop persona might have been influenced by Rotor.
Very possible. So this is a Rotor ripoff.
This and RoboCop both rip off Rotor. Then okay. I would just love that to be the case. There's nothing I like more than finding out that people who've made proper films have been influenced by silly films.
Well, like Harry Potter is ripping off Troll. Like
it's about the only thing it doesn't rip off, I think.
Are the drums of explosive already present in the building? Or did they bring these large yellow drums of explosives through them?
yes.
In manufacturing the computer processors here, we need a
The byproduct is unfortunate.
Is not silicon, as you would believe. It's yes, large drums of high explosive material.
It's like that joke from Futurama when the professor has the plastic nose maker and it produces loads of toxic waste as a byproduct for no reason.
Robin, our CEO, says, I used to have a Scion 5MX. Yeah. I remember I remember pre-smartphones where everyone had a personal organizer of some kind. Palm Pilots were the famous ones.
Oh god, yeah. I remember those.
Yeah.
This scene is so awesome, and yet no one dies.
Yeah, but that's what he's doing deliberately, isn't he? But it's still an awesome scene.
It is.
How did that police car lose its roof? It's just occurred to me.
Disintegrated with bullets.
He just shot all the. I guess if he's cutting it right enough of an angle, he's maybe cut through the support pillars and the roof would just fall in. But he's only done to that one.
Again, the score, the way it's shot.
Oh yeah.
The beautiful blue lighting.
Yeah, but the score, what's beautiful on this is you are right. I really like the score in this scene because it's not a high energy score for what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really providing more emotion, more depth than it is telling us to be excited.
Yeah.
It's calm. Like Arnie is there.
There's an inevitability to it that's reflected in what Arnie is doing, that you don't really get the sense that anything's going to stop him, and the music knows that.
Yeah.
Satisfying tube popping noise. Like when you pop open Pringles the right way, that thunk.
Again, what are behind all the other panels? I just want to know.
It's one of the decoy panels.
It does seem a rather elaborate. I know you have to store these things, but it does seem a rather elaborate storage.
That's the thing. I've always been fascinated. Is there something behind every panel, or is there just that whole room is for those two things?
I mean, what's wrong with a cupboard?
Well, that's the sad reality, isn't it? Like, in one of the episodes of the X-Files, they have like alien DNA in just like a drawer cupboard, and it's like, oh, come on, I want it to be in this cryogen like stasis pod, but no, it's in a cupboard.
God, that lab is so blue.
It's still better than Cyan, okay? It's still better than Cyan.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, the goblin in me is very happy that you can't unsee the blue now. It's like when you're at the cinema and you notice the screen has like a water damage on it or something, and then you can't stop looking at that one mark on the screen.
Aspect ratios are my beef.
Yeah.
I can't deal with an incorrect aspect ratio. It's unbearable. I used to go every year. I used to go to the Everyman in Hampstead to watch It's a Wonderful Life at Christmas. and one year they had the wrong lens on. And I sat there in a packed cinema thinking, I can't fucking handle this. This is driving me mad. Looking around, everyone else was just sitting there quite happy. I'm going to have to go. And so I ended up having to go and say something. And they didn't, to be fair, in what they meant to do, that was stop it in the middle, are they, if no one else is complaining.
I've also got to admit, these are the worst police ever. That they believe Miles Dyson has been taken hostage, so they shoot him and
they kill him
when they see him.
Poor Miles.
My other quick thing about cinemas that annoys me, apart from aspect ratios, is when it's not as prevalent now, because 3D fortunately is dying a death. When they leave some of the 3D cap on the lens on the projector, and the picture's so washed out in the screen.
I've not had that, fortunately.
I had that a few times. But the other one as well that annoys me is when they don't, some of the projection screens, when the aspect ratio changes, these screens, the black borders will shift around on them. Where they have not moved the black border to the correct aspect ratio. So you've got big patches of white.
Yeah. Yeah, like a messy edge, basically.
Yeah. Polydichloric. What the hell is that stuff? Oh, it's a fictional substance.
That's what's his name, isn't it? Who's quite well known now from Breaking Bad, but was in small roles in all these movies.
Oh, who was in the Dean
Norris?
Norris?
No, Dean.
Is it not Dean Norris? Is it Dean Norris?
Could be. Can't remember now.
But
he's in Total Recall. He's got a bigger role in Total Recall as like an underground alien.
So just to interject, guys, that chemical in the drums that's explosive is actually an inside joke. It's polydichloric euthymol, which is the powerful amphetamine found in the people in Outland.
Oh! Wait, so you're saying this exists in the same universe as Outland? Yes, it was Dean Norris, and yes, it was him. According to IMDb, at least.
I
do like this scene where they need another breathing mask, and he just goes and gets one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just takes it off the guy's face.
So cool.
I think as well, it's a bit playing against some of the Arnie type that we would have seen by now, because by now in Arnie's career, if someone is saying to a normal Arnie character, lay on the floor, put your gun down, he would have given some comeback quip. It's just nothing.
Going back to his roots of barely speaking. Tell you what, the surgeon over the road who specializes in replacement kneecaps is going to make a killing after today.
Yeah. God, that hurts.
God, it hurts. That seems more trouble than it's worth, taking the bike up the staircase.
Yeah, but
it allows him to ride it out of the window, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I wonder if that really, really cool scene. They brought a lot of tear gas with them, didn't they?
The tear gas grenade launcher.
Yeah.
With the here, hold this. Yoink.
Do you think that's SWAT team policy when they arrive at a active site to keep the keys in the
in the visor?
I wonder how long after this film people stopped doing that for fear that people. That was my secret hiding place. It's like keeping a fake rock in front of your house with a key inside of it. Darn, my bullets aren't piercing the armor-plated vehicle.
That's only a sandwich van.
It is. Here it comes.
This scene is just, again, it's just awesome.
It is. Yeah, it's cool for the sake of cool.
It's stupid, but it is just cool.
It's so cool.
The practical reality of filming this sequence when it was
Yeah.
filmed as well must have been a nightmare. You've got full-on VFX, CGI VFX, the stunt guy, the mixture of a studio and a location.
This helicopter chase as well is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's something I definitely didn't appreciate as a kid. The expert level piloting that goes on. I believe
definitely.
they go underneath a bridge, don't they?
Oh yeah, it's incredible. One of my favorite scenes as well. We've seen a moment is the T-1000 where he's fighting them. He grows an extra arm.
Mm.
He grows an extra arm out his midriff to pilot the helicopter with. If you see, he's got 3 arms at one point. At least the SWAT van had a decent weapons cache in it.
Yeah.
With no locks on any of it.
As it should be.
Maybe there were locks, but they knew that the keys would be in the sun visor just above
Maybe
the
that's
visor.
Hey. There's a sun visor right above the weapons locker
just-
for no reason, and then just pull it down.
Just above every single lock, there's a sun visor.
Oh, they put bulletproof vests in the windows, which is kind of a good idea.
Well, that's what, you saw Sarah doing it earlier on, didn't you?
Yeah.
So that helicopter wasn't really flown under that bridge, was it? It
Yeah,
can't
quite.
have been.
Yeah,
It
quite
was,
possibly. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go. Look, he's got extra. If you look in a couple shots, he's got 3 arms.
Oh. Oh God, missing by a hair's breadth.
Yeah.
Like I said, as a kid, don't appreciate it. Movie magic, right?
Yeah. You're
As an
right.
adult, I'm like that poor pilot. Oof, kudos.
Oh, the stunt work on this film was second to none, wasn't it? At the time, it was so good.
Ooh.
And it's just shot so sensibly as well. The camera's always in the right place. The takes
Yeah.
aren't really quick. It's not edited like a maniac.
Mo- It's not like a Michael Bay action sequence.
I wonder how many shots it took to capture the perfect shot. And how pissed off the pilot was. Again, Cameron? I've done it 3 times already.
I love this play.
Oh, yeah.
Kindly yokel, we will be taking your truck.
Cryoco. Where would we be without them? Again, evil trucks.
Yeah.
That kind of looked like James Cameron, then, actually. The guy who was waving in front of the car.
The guy who got out of the truck and got stabbed looked a lot like Lance Henriksen
Lance
for a moment
Henriksen,
as
yeah.
well.
I was going to say it's discount Lance Henriksen.
I'd never considered it before, but
Again, these are just shot so well using the bridge with its kind of metal frame to give a sense of speed.
Mm-hmm. It just makes it seem like it's going so much faster than it probably is.
both vehicles in the same shot instead of just leaping between them.
Yeah. Tell us a little worrying. I think that truck they stole was that guy's house.
I know. I think
bedding
so as
and
well.
everything. They were just taking his work vehicle. They destroyed his house.
His life is ruined.
But again, this scene is so cool.
Oh yeah. Oof.
God, whenever you get a shot of Arnie, a close-up of Arnie in that truck doorway, the rear projection, I think it is. But look here,
Yeah,
that's ropey as hell, isn't it?
is a bit. Could be improved. But you forgive it because it just cuts between such great stunt work.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. I love the practicality of this as well. He just gets on the bonnet of the truck and it's right. Okay, point blank range of whole mag.
Yeah. And it's the fact that the T850 doesn't seem to have any concern for his own well-being here at all, does it? It's literally...
Oh.
Yeah, get out of there. It's one of those night foundries where they work at night at foundries.
They
Best
do
time to
actually,
work.
but it still works just up the road from me. It's 24 hours because the furnaces can't ever be turned off.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That shows me, doesn't it?
Haha, your nitpick has been proven wrong.
It's because they'd lose too much energy in turning furnaces off because they take weeks to get up to temperature.
Oh God, okay.
Yeah, all right,
See,
all right.
You learn
I
something
worked
new
at the
every
steel.
day.
I worked there for 2 years. Not doing steel work. I was doing computer stuff, but I knew all the.
How many times did Terminators pour in? Was it every other week or?
It was about once every 6 months there'd be a Terminator fight. But I can tell you something absolutely horrific about steelworks that's kind of connected with this film, or any molten metal works. If you fall into molten metal, you don't get burnt.
Oh yeah.
You become scalded by a layer of protective superheated steam as the moisture evaporates from your body.
You get boiled.
Yeah, you basically become boiled because the metal won't touch you because it's so hot. All your moisture in your body turns to superheated steam. It scalds you to death.
Do you leave a cool statue though?
No, but there was a guy, one of the health and safety inspectors told me there was a guy at one of the steelworks in Sheffield who did fall into a vat of metal, pulled himself out and died a few weeks later in hospital.
Oh.
What's his name, Arnold?
Sadly not. Yeah, Sharon, it does sound worse than drowning. It's yeah.
Sound design is so important.
Oh,
That
it is.
clinking of like metal ice, just clink, 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 clink. Oh, it's so satisfying. Every time I hear it, it's like music.
But this is definitely one of the greatest kind of like he's not dead horror film type things, isn't it? We're going to ever see the reveal that you haven't really killed him. But it has damaged him, because we'll see later in the film.
So as a kid, this scene always felt like it was from a different film to me, because it's shot so differently. I'm realizing now it's probably because there's so little blue in the scene. But it's also like, reverse shooting and such.
But then it's very similar to parts of, going back to Aliens, when she's inside the reactor and it gets very red and all sort of melting and falling apart.
Yeah, kind of all the light is coming from the fire, isn't it? From the
steel,
melting steel.
Yeah. Now, what I'll say from this point on in the film is keep looking at the T-1000's feet and his legs. Not I'm a foot fetishist, just keep looking at them. And I think we'll also take a moment to appreciate the design for Arnie's makeup and costume as he's gradually getting more and more injured, and you can see sort of the endoskeleton appearing. But it's quite subtle how much of it changes. And again, from a continuity perspective, that must have been quite interesting. It's like, okay, he's phase 5, phase 6, whatever, of this much damage, that much damage.
Especially when films aren't shot in to break the illusion slightly, films are rarely shot in chronological order.
Yeah.
Which must make it an absolute pain for actors as well.
Always thought
in
that,
this emotional scene.
If you're doing a big arc within a movie, to be emotionally coherent.
Oh, I know how terrible it is, because I've
well, you've been in many Neil Breen movies, as we know.
Been in many Neil Breen movies, yeah. It's and as we know, Neil Breen's characterizations always have layers upon layers of complexity.
What you need is a strong director, someone who's good at continuity in a situation like that, I imagine.
For sure.
That's
make or break
still
a project.
cool, that fight.
It just shows how inadequate the T-850 is.
Does it, or does it show that newer isn't always better?
See, in all reality, we know this could never happen. I mean, we can't even update most software without having multiple crashes and bugs that just seep in. So we're lucky. We can't create good enough AI to kill us. We're too incompetent.
Well, not to kill us deliberately, anyway.
In fact, he's breaking his own arm off with a...
So these effects with the electricity, like darting, like they look like optical effects to me. They're probably not, but they look like them. I miss the way that looks. Yeah.
But there's something I've said on other watch parties. I've always liked the 1980s, 90s on the hand-drawn lightning effects.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw this augmented reality concert somewhere in, I believe, Korea. Where they had like 80s style, like almost like rotoscope stuff going around these performers, and it looked so dated but cool. I would love to see a concert like that with like I said, rotoscoped animation, like lightning coming around the performers. That's just, it sounds so cool to me. I want those effects to come back.
Yeah, man. Anything. I mean, while we're watching this, it seems a bit of a crime to say it, but anything but CGI.
Yeah.
I think that we ought to be honest and say that CGI can be very good if it's used correctly.
Yeah.
It's when it's used for the sake of CGI.
It's like all visual effects. It seems like every technique that's ever been invented, they've tried to push it too far instead of just saying, well, this is what we've got until we invent the next thing.
Exactly. Ooh.
Man, I remember when I thought that stop motion animation looked terrible. Silly childhood dumb.
I watched my son's a Star Wars fan, and every now and again we'll put the original trilogy. Obviously, the original trilogy is the only one I'll watch as a movie style. But I have the I forget what they call it now, but the despecialized versions that that chap painstakingly put together. And man, there's only one or two moments in that whole trilogy where the effects don't look convincing.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary. And it's because they didn't get carried away trying to do things they couldn't do.
No, exactly.
Oh.
I mean, this is brutal. But in my mind, you're hearing the what Kyle Reese said about sort of the T800 series, the whole it won't stop, it can't be reasoned with, it will always carry on, and that's what in reverse for protecting Arnie's Terminator is doing here. No matter what happens, he gets back up to carry on his mission of protecting them.
Yeah.
And it seems the T1000 has certain degrees of personality, like anger. It looks irritated by the tenacity of the older model.
But is that the thing? Is it he views him as inferior because he is a newer model? That's an older model, and an older model's causing him trouble. And it's like, how dare in you know, if these machines are supposed to be sentient, is it like, well, it's a lesser model's beating me? How dare he? Does he not know I'm
in fiction that deals with these supposedly completely convincing android robots? Something that always ends up having to be addressed is the fact that humans aren't perfect, and we in order to make these robots convincing, they have to program into them imperfections. They have to program into them flashes of impatience and the use of, like Data in Star Trek using conjunctions. It's that it seems logical that he'd have been programmed with visual frustration and so on.
But it could be part of his behavioral things he's been programmed with for infiltration.
Yeah.
When was the last time we had a science fiction film or TV show that dealt with that kind of should we Blade Runner-y concept? It's been a hot minute, hasn't it? Was Ex Machina the last one?
I don't know. I've got the worst memory, but
yeah.
Ex Machina kind of took a different approach though as well, didn't it? It was rather more philosophical, I suppose.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt again, gents. This scene is just so damn cool.
Yeah.
It's the reverse of
and the score. Sorry, it's just...
it kicks in and it fills you with hope, doesn't it? It's like, yeah, get up, Terminator, do your job.
Get up, Rock. Get up, Rocky.
I didn't hear no bell. If only. I didn't hear no bell. Alternate universe where Arnie's Rocky and Sly is the Terminator. Wouldn't work, would it?
Now, this sequence, as we discussed earlier, Linda Hamilton has a twin. In the shot of them both together, where you see the one closest to John, that will be her twin. That's the twin at the front.
I don't know how it never occurred to me.
But also in one of the shots, it was either in one of the special editions or in the making of book I had, you can just see a bit of it. His feet start taking on the path. One of the things he knew that it wasn't his mother, was his feet start taking on the pattern of the grid beneath where feet do.
It bleeds through.
I've noticed that somewhere or other, not today, but at some point.
Yeah. Well, it's like his feet are kind of half liquid metal, but they've got the pattern of the grid on.
Yeah, in fact, I've seen that and wondered if it was a mistake. Wondered if there was like an opacity issue with the CGI or something.
No, it's to do with it's supposed to be part of his malfunctioning. That's why there's another scene where he touches like a metal thing in his hand.
Yeah,
but you just see the edges of a few of the bits of it left in the film.
Oh, this squealing gave me bloody nightmares as well. And do you know why? It's because I also saw The Thing at an early age, and I was like, oh no, it's The Thing. In fact, at my local cinema that had multiple screens, my fancy bourgeoisie cinema, there was a gift store in the lobby, and it had toys of like the T-1000 like malformed right next to The Thing.
Oh, wow. Oh man, that's a cinema and a half.
It was Virgin Cinemas. I used to they
I
always
used to
had
love
like a
the Virgin
poster rack
cinemas.
as well. I wish I kept those posters. I had so many cool film posters. There was a time when if you came out with your ticket, you could get a poster for the film you saw, and you could choose like A1 through A6 or something. It was amazing. I miss those days.
Yeah, the problem with Virgin Cinemas was as well, they sold Virgin Cola, which was great if you like supermarket pop at premium prices.
I hated Virgin Cola. They gave me like a weird like.
Yeah, the bottle was called a Pammy. It was supposed to be shaped like Pamela Anderson.
I remember that.
Oh. The bottle was weird, but yeah, Virgin Cola was horrible.
Yeah.
It felt like a trick, like a cruel joke. Something you give out on Halloween.
Now, James Cameron, as we know, has made many movies. He made Titanic so the ladies could cry. He made Terminator 2.
Don't finish that. So don't finish that.
You know what I'm going to say.
That.
You know that it's okay to get to well up here.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try and stop myself.
Yeah.
At the end of Rotor, then I need a tissue.
Now that's truly cinema.
Yeah, Eric just posted. Do men even have feelings?
Yeah.
James, I don't know if I'll cry now yet. We're not going to get a repeat of Cocoon where everybody was basically crying at some of the film.
I mean, that's a tearjerker.
I read a thing the other day saying Wilford Brimley was younger in Cocoon than Tom Cruise is now.
Yes,
yeah,
he was.
Wilford Brimley was another one of those actors that never aged, but that's because he was perpetually a grandpa.
Like Angela Lansbury. One of my favourite actors is Angela Lansbury. She played old ladies for her entire career.
Ugh.
I think some of the genius in the writing of this film, though, is the fact Arnie's limited acting ability. Because they wrote a character specifically tailored
Cameron knew how to use Arnie better than
Yeah.
anyone, I think. Yeah.
It's very similar to how they used Dave Bautista in the Guardians of the Galaxy film, where the character is crafted specifically the way they've written him to be someone who maybe doesn't have the greatest acting abilities.
Because the fact he can't necessarily deliver lines that well doesn't mean that he's not. He doesn't mean he's not able to emote or make you feel things, or.
But they have to be the right lines.
Mm.
Oh, this scene.
Just chopping a few onions, it's fine.
Yeah, sorry. It's the fact he's burning up as well, and he's
I know,
no pain.
It's just slow descent.
But the moment they came up with this vat of molten metal as a means of concluding everything was just a win, wasn't it? That was such a day for them, I bet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and he gives him a thumbs up. But what a great way to end the film.
Yeah.
Back to the open road again, like the first one.
Yeah.
It always bothers me whenever I see these scenes, because there's a couple of scenes of showing the road with the yellow lines in the middle. Pick a lane, dude. Stay in one of the lanes. Stop swerving, you drunk.
Well, there we go, everybody. That was Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And I've got to say to both you gentlemen, especially Rob, thank you for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure. This has. It's just been such a great movie, such a great film. I'll let Rob go first. Can you sum this film up in a few words, Rob?
Oh, yeah, that's not putting me on the spot. I think it's for me, it's kind of a transition film. It's almost it couldn't have been in the 80s, and it couldn't have been made really much later than it was. I feel like it kind of points to the future in terms of the extraordinary scale and also length. It's well over 2 hours long, which was relatively unusual back then. But there's just something about the scale combined with the emotional aspect, the way it does actually affect you emotionally, all joking aside, that kind of makes it almost unique in a way.
It really is lightning in a bottle as far as films are concerned. I know the pun goes, they don't make films like this anymore, but they really don't make anything that's as and again, it's maybe overused, but this is a perfect film. There's not really, it's like, even with our little bit of poking, a bit of fun here and there, there's no way this film could really have been improved. The script was perfect. The editing was tight. There's no flat spots. It's just perfect.
It's also, I know that Gail Ann Hurd and a number of other contributors are very important, but it's essentially one man's vision, which no movie made on this level is anymore. Your Marvel burgers can be very good, but they're so blatantly the result of committee thinking at every stage, at every level.
But equally, as you say, one man's vision. This is a one man's vision where it's worked, because don't forget, 7, 8 years later, we had one man's vision, which was the Star Wars prequels, which showed how badly things can happen when someone doesn't rein in that leader.
When there's nobody there to say no, basically,
it's not good. But that's Dom, what do you say?
Well, I've spoken at length about my history with this film. The fact that I did lose my dad really early on, and this was one of the films that he showed me. And as the years have gone on, this film has meant more and more to me, especially growing up as an angsty teen that blamed the world for all of, personal problems, and finding a father figure in many different people. It never fails to entertain me. It never fails to make me feel sad, happy. It's an emotional roller coaster for very particular reasons, but it's also and forgive the French, it's a fuck ton of fun. It's a great time beginning to end. And when it takes those moments to breathe, to let you see the emotion in the film, it doesn't feel like it's whiplashing you from action to suddenly emotion time. It's very naturally done. It's very well put together. It has a bit too much blue, but but it's a great film, and it is my favorite sequel of all time. I can't picture even Aliens. I put underneath this in terms of sequel for me.
And there we go.
The Godfather 2 and Aliens. Those are the three good sequels.
Well, there we go. That was Terminator 2. Rob, what have you got coming on your YouTube channel? I've posted a link to the channel to our community. What's on the horizon?
I'm working at the moment on so Borrowing Blockbusters has kind of ended up being my main series on there, where I take a different blockbuster and look at the movies that rip it off. And I'm now desperately trying to get a Nightmare on Elm Street one done for Halloween, which might be a little shorter than the others. But if you have any interest in ridiculous rip-off movies or ridiculous good bad movies, then check it out. Bad Movie Bible.
We'll certainly be checking that out. That sounds really good. But speaking of good and perfect movies, as Terminator 2 is, next week, the week after, and the week after that, we're going on a journey. We are going to watch, over the 3 weeks, potentially the greatest film trilogy ever made.
Silent Night, Deadly Night.
No. The most perfect film trilogy ever made.
Well, that's Star Wars, isn't it? I mean, we all know that. So
No. There's some issues with some of the Star Wars movies. The most perfect trilogy of films ever made, and I hope to all of the gods I can name that it doesn't get rebooted or remade. And Mr. Zemeckis is firm on saying,
there's a clue. There's a clue. There's a clue.
How many Polar Express movies did he make? Was it 2 or I can't remember.
We're watching Polar Express, followed by that weird Beowulf film, and then something else. No, we're going
the Zemeckis Uncanny Valley trilogy.
No, we're going to be watching Back to the Future. Then the week after that, Back to the Future 2, and then strangely enough, Back to the Future 3 after that. To have a bit of do one of our watch a whole series of watch parties. That's going to be a great time. I can't wait for it. So everyone, next week it's going to be Back to the Future Part 1, which is going to be brilliant. But everyone, please stay safe, look after each other, and we will see you in 7 days. Good night. Bye-bye.